All right. Good evening, folks. Welcome. My name is Lawrence Lewis. I'm the Chief Electoral Officer for the MNBC 2024 general election. And we are here tonight to take part in a virtual town hall for Region 3. And happy to report we have all 4 of our candidates here. So I'll have an opportunity for them to say hello in just a minute. We have Dean Gladue, David Allard, Cheryl Dodman, and Wendy Chernovichan. And Wendy, if I've messed that up, please clarify for me when it's your opportunity to say hello. Welcome, everybody. So just a couple things before we get started. Tonight's session is scheduled for about an hour and a half. If we take a little bit longer, that's fine. Tonight, the session is recorded. It will be available post-recording once it's downloaded to our systems, and then we'll provide it to MNBC. And MNBC will upload it to their YouTube channel, and it'll be available for members to watch anytime they want, and for candidates to use as part of their campaign effort. So look for that on the MNBC YouTube site. Tonight's session will be an opportunity for candidates to say hello, speak to their platform, give some closing remarks, and of course, answer questions that you may have as electors and members of MNBC. Do encourage you to put those questions into the chat column. Just click the chat option in our Zoom session, and our team will capture that, and then they will consolidate it, they'll moderate it, and they'll feed it back to me later at question time for the candidates. And I'll ask those questions of the candidates. And the reason we're doing that is just to ensure that the questions are clear and concise, and that we have an opportunity to capture questions in a orderly way. And oftentimes the same question gets asked a few times throughout the course of the evening. So top chance for us to consolidate that and get them out to the candidates in a way that will get your question answered. I do want to also just take a minute to introduce my team. So with us this evening, I have Delaney Barlow. She can just say hello. Or just turn your screen on and wave. Thank you. I have Heather McIntyre, or McGuire, sorry. McIntyre, sorry, Heather. I have Sarah McAmoyle and Tyler Youngchief. These folks are all part of my team, so there's no MNBC staff participating in these forums or facilitating them in any way. This is all one feather team, and we're here to provide this service as part of the election protocol. I won't be moderating every session. Our team will take turns doing that, but tonight you get me for the first one. Reminder as well that our session has some rules, some game rules. So we want to make sure that the tone is informative and helpful and friendly, that we're all leading from a place of love and kindness and respect for each other, and here to conduct ourselves in a professional way. So it's just important to set that tone as Indigenous people and as I'm First Nation, but that you as Métis, there's a protocol and a way that we do business. And let's do that with honor and respect and gratitude and appreciation for each other. So without further ado, we'll get straight into the agenda. I have randomly picked who will get to start us off this evening. So let me speak to the order. It'll be the same order for the whole evening. So going first will be Dean, second will be David, third will be Cheryl, and Wendy, you will be fourth. So without further ado, I want to open the floor up to Dean to say hello and introduce yourself, Dean. I'm going to ask you to unmute, which will give you the opportunity to do so.
Copy that. You got it.
Excellent. Okay, so just one second before you get going here. I'm going to pin you to the top here. Let me get organized here.
And this is a 3-minute introduction, correct?
The 3-minute one introduction.
Perfect.
Yes. All right, the floor is yours, sir.
Danse, my name is Dean Gladue. Astia McQuino is my Neho name. In Stotino Namosun was given to me by my grandfather in ceremony. I was born in a very traditional Métis community in northeastern British Columbia. My mother's from Kelly Lake community, and my father's from the High Prairie area. He was born around, and I come from a very deep heritage of Métis families. Gladue, Desjardins, Laboucan, Belcourt, Bisson, Collins, Kellio, Gray, Rowan, Grant, a direct descendant of the Grant family, Wells family, Hirondale, Nipissing, Leflarnay, Savard, Gillis, Cree, McKay, Breland, Leclerc, Chartrand, Bourassa, Goslin, La Valley, Simon, Salafu, Callahassan, Auger. So you can see I come from a very deep line of Métis. Both my parents are 200 years of unimpeded Métis heritage. We speak the language, the culture. We come from both worlds. We practice, I always say it as Métis, we go to Catholic, we go to church, but also we go to a sweat. People say Métis are either or. No, we are both. I'm very proud of my deep heritage. I'm very passionate about what I do. Prior to becoming in a political side, I was in the RCMP for 26 years, where a lot of my job entailed working with First Nations and communities throughout Canada in relations to drug issues. My unit was the Drug and Organized Crime Unit. I was there for 15 years, and I also made an impact throughout North America, working in Las Vegas, New York, and various different places. So with my job, that took me there. A lot of my job entailed studying governments that had threats to our country, and as well as drug threats to bring in Indigenous communities down, such as organized crime. So I equate that to when I look at what I do now as a Métis person. You know, we come from a long heritage of battles with Canada, and I know it. Joining the RCMP, sometimes my family saw me as a traitor, but I would say, Moya, I would say, if we're going to make a difference, we got to be on the inside. If we're not on the inside, we can't change things such as justice, education, economics, whatever it may be. And I'm so proud to say that we've done amazing work in the last 2 years with getting a lot of our Indigenous peoples educated and getting employment and skills training up in POR. As I was the former employment and skills training, being reelected MNBC employment and skills training coordinator as well, prior to giving that to who is now Minister Paulette Clement, who is now the employment and educator. So there's a lot of things that I when I look at our Métis heritage and where we're going, I like to say that as Dean Gladue, we're not a club. I noticed when I first got involved with politics in British Columbia, which is so different from Alberta, which a lot of my family's connected to the settlements. I saw a lot of an attitude of our communities being club mentality. And what I mean by that, they didn't see themselves as a nation, as a people. There was a lot of fear in this province of even come out and saying they're Métis, and the work, and it's amazing that where we're going. So thank you very much. I love the music, and I will leave it at that. And Miigwech, all my relations.
Thank you, Dean. Much appreciated. David, you are up next.
Thank you, Lawrence. Good evening, everyone. My name is David Allard, and I'm coming to you from Salmon Arm in Secwepemc territory, where I reside. I have been on the board of directors as a volunteer for the Salmon Arm Métis Association for close to 8 years. And after all this time, I decided I was ready to try to make good changes at a higher level with the support of our board. Since we don't have much time here tonight to share as much as we would like, please see my website at votedavidallard.com for more information. Also, the recent SOSMA town hall, which is on YouTube, will show you more of who I am, as well as the conduct and comments of other candidates. I am a proud French Manitoba Métis, born in Winnipeg, and am connected to a long line of Métis, including Carrière, Lagimodière, Parenteau, Riel, and many others. My Scottish and Irish background has close connections to BC, including James McMillan, the founder of Fort Langley, and the Dease family. Also not mentioned enough in introductions are what I believe to be the bedrock of the Métis Nation, strong women, such as my ancestors Geneviève Beignet, Joseph Bellil, and Margaret McMillan. Look them up for examples of true tenacity and inspiration. I moved to BC over 30 years ago and had the opportunity to work in all parts of the province as a tree planter, certified faller, and a general forestry contractor. I also initially trained as a Red Seal chef and have been an entrepreneur for many years, with my current occupations being a wholesale food manufacturer, as well as owning and operating mobile food trailers over the years. This variety of work experience, combined with my volunteer experience with MNBC, including be a member of different MNBC committees, including at present the MNGA Governance Committee, has given me a depth of understanding of what it takes to move things forward in a way that everyone can feel a part of. Métis rights are based on those rights being enjoyed by the people while respecting the rights of others. For this to happen, the people need to be involved in how we promote the recognitions of and assert those rights. One cannot happen without the other. Strong, thriving communities should be the top priority of MNBC, as that is the most important foundation of peoplehood. The people are the nation. My aim is to be a voice for the people of Region 3. Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup to mes amis métis. Merci.
I'm taking it. It's my turn. Tanshe, Cheryl Dotman Stishinakashin. I am just working on learning the language, unlike some folks who got to grow up in that. I, like these folks, have come from a long line of Métis. Proud to say that I'm definitely a direct lineage of Cuthbert Grant, but my maiden name is Chartrand. And a bunch of the other names, I'll rattle them off quickly, are Lachert, Olat, Vendal, Bottineau, Martin, Capulet, Cardinal, Dubois, Bailey, Wells, Grant, Montour, and to name a few, Cadot. And way back, Paul Chartrand was the ancestor back in the 1775. I'm super excited with my ancestry and proud to learn on a regular basis just who they are. I am a proud Métis woman, grandmother, and have been called an elder. I'm working on not accepting that at this point, but I am super proud to have worked with the Métis women of BC for the past 6 years. And I have been working on my community board, which is Kelowna Métis Association, for the past 18 years. 9 of those as vice president, 4 of those as president, which I currently hold that position. Proud grandma married for now going on 41 years. So I've got a long history of being consistent and staying with what I put my mind to. Métis it's been my passion since I found out that I was Métis. And from that point on, I started volunteering to find out what it meant to be a Métis Nation citizen. I'm pretty proud to know that I actually grew up Métis, but the family hid it from us. Yeah, I still don't know if my dad ever knew that he was Métis because he had passed before I actually found out. But I've been working it ever since, proud to work with community. And I know basically how it is with the boots on the ground as a volunteer for so many years, and proud to be. My passion is us as Métis Nation citizens. My background is I did work at the phone company, BC Tel, and then of course TELUS for 15 years. I think my biggest takeaway from that was that I truly learned how to deal with difficult people. Because let's face it, when you have a phone problem, you are not too happy. And that was part of my job, and helping people with their services, dealing with people that are quite disgruntled. I can handle that and stick up for what we need. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Cheryl. David, I was muted last time, so you missed me saying thank you and appreciate your introduction. So moving on, Wendy, you are up next.
Tanshe Kakiel, Wendy Dishinakashun. Hello, everyone. My name is Wendy. My last name is Cherniv Chan, so it's Cherniv Chan. I married a wonderful Ukrainian man, and what I'd like to say is that I grew up in in a Métis household and in a large extended Métis family, and we celebrated the culture and we participated in many cultural activities. The one thing that that was missing from that childhood is that we never spoke about being Métis, but we lived the traditional ways and we practiced the values of the Métis people. And I moved to Kamloops back in 1984, and just a teen at that time. And as I grew into a young adult, my mom and myself, we really wanted to seek out more understanding of our Métis identity. And so back in 2003, Mom and I joined Two Rivers Métis Society. And during that time, I took a genealogy program with Laurel Katernick, and I absolutely love Métis genealogy. It's a passion that I carry so deep. And so when I was doing our family genealogy, it's so surprising when you find out all the Métis connections and family connections that you have to the people around you. And it's so true what they say, that the world is a small place, and in Métis community you have so many connections. And so after I did that, I actually volunteered for the Two Rivers Métis Society board for a number of years. And during that time, I was president, vice president, secretary. And so I did many of the tasks involved with that, administrative, membership, genealogy. And then I moved into a role at Métis Nation BC as the Region 3 registry clerk. And so I did that for 2 years. And I'm so proud to say that I supported over 500 people in Region 3 in being able to submit a completed application to Métis Nation BC during that time. And after that, I moved on and did some post-secondary education. And when I came out of that, I knew deep in my heart, I wanted to work for our Métis community. And so since then, I've worked at Limit-Chif-O-Tipamiswak Family Community Services, which is a Métis child welfare organization. And I worked for Métis Commission for Children and Families of BC. Thank you for your time. Marcy.
Awesome. Thanks, Wendy. Really appreciate that. So back to our agenda. So I just encourage folks, if you get a chance, to submit your questions in the chat channel. We're now on to part 3 of our presentation this evening, or as our town hall this evening, and we'll invite each of the candidates to convey their platform. They will get 5 minutes to do so, and we'll run the timer again. And we're back up to the start of our order again. So Dean, when I ask you to, you'll get to go first in our lineup tonight. Again, just a reminder, folks, do please use the chat column to post any questions you might have, so that our team can formulate them, and then we can ask the candidates of them tonight. So we have 18 participants tonight, so that's great. It'd be great if those that are out there could spread the word for Region 3 within your own social networks and connections, and see if other folks want to pop in and check out this evening, the first of our series of 7 of town hall community meetings across the province over the next couple of weeks. And a reminder that Election Day is September 7th. Electronic voting will open on August 24th, and mail-in ballots are ready to go and will be released shortly. And so you have the opportunity to vote in this election both electronically and by mail. Do visit onefeather.ca for more information on the voting event, and as well MNBC, where all current voting information and notices are kept up to date and available for members and the electorate to access anytime. Without further delay, Dean, take it away. You are up next, sir. 5 minutes for your platform.
Thank you, Lawrence, and appreciate that. And as mentioned, and I did forget that I'm calling from the Shwapmik traditional territory, which is Kamloops, and I'm very involved in the local Shwapmik community as well, and understanding their ways and ensuring that we as a Métis people are being heard and respected by that end. But in regards to, just want to say this, I'm seeking re-election. I've been the Region 3 director for the last 4 years. Prior to that, I was also president of Two Rivers. And so you really get a good sense of where we're going and what community needs. But we don't, in MNBC, we cannot dictate what communities must do. Each community is independent and works to build their community. Once we build, if we start building a bigger government, then we become much like AFN and we lose our validity at the community level. But what's important here is this. When we move forward as a nation in 2020, I was voted in, and we were hit by COVID for the first 2 years. And I'll tell you, it was very difficult to get things moving. Once things opened up, our current board, which is an amazing board, worked hard and diligently together to ensure that we become a much credible and stronger nation, and we have. I've been involved with Métis politics all my life. I was actually there when 1996 we started MNBC. And I saw a small organization. In the last 2 years, we grew to an incredible organization that's got a lot of credibility and a lot of notoriety. So I'd like to continue that, what we've done, and to continue it. Again, it's important that we do that. We need to also realize that the most important thing, and this is my number one priority, 5 minutes doesn't give me a lot of time. I need 3 or 4 hours to really sit down and tell you where things are and where I feel. We need people like myself in the board with old-fashioned politics, but also understanding the new world. And what I mean by old-fashioned politics is really showing government that we belong. And this is what's going on in British Columbia now, where Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba were 10, 12 years ago. We're now here. We're there. We're losing ground. The federal and the provincial government are giving us minimal respect. And like I said, now that we're getting great momentum, these next 4 years are going to be critical who you vote for. Voting for people that concentrate on working with the federal and the provincial level is going to be key. We need strong leaders at the local level. We need very strong leaders. They have to keep the community going. But to get there, we're going to have to get strong IGB status, Indigenous Government Body status. And that's where we're very close. And once we can get that, that's going to help communities to develop capacity and funding, just like with the First Nations and the First Nations communities throughout Canada and also BC. Because without that, we're just a club, we're just a society. And I see people call themselves, we are the Two Rivers Métis Society. Exactly that. We are the Two Rivers Métis. We're a nation. We're a nation of people. Where as Métis people, it's important that we get our assert right. So that's going to be number one priority. Section 35. Number two, and it is going to be reserve and promote and revitalize Métis culture always. As you can see, I wear this traditional proudly. It was made by one of my cookums, and I always promote our culture. I walk, I sleep, and I breathe Métis culture. Got off the phone with my mother, and as I was explaining to her what we're doing, she goes, "Da pui," she says, son, and in her broken English, she says, "Keep it going." My mother was a residential school survivor. My dad is a day school survivor. We come from a very broken communities where substance abuse and a lot of the past. We did not run from our heritage. We did not run from our culture. We never denied it. So I was in the struggles. I was in the war, and what I call that is I was a part of the as we call the forgotten people. We call it the roadside allowance people. That's how I was born. And if you go online and you Google my name, you'll see a lot of information on me and who I am, because I'm a very passionate and very vocal Métis person. I believe that, yes, we all need to get along, but reality, even in our own, we have threats. I called it 10 years ago. Our own Métis nation nationally is going to go into a civil war, and we are. And it's unfortunately, when you look at MMF and the issues with Saskatchewan and Alberta, these are real evolving issues, people. In the next 4 to 10 years, it's going to be critical that we know where to go with this. So revitalizing culture is important. Address racism and systematic racism within the communities. We're seeing that at all levels. Who are the Métis? I with several MPs throughout Canada, MLAs, which I believe is the important part, because they got to know who we are, and they still say, who are the Métis? When I joined the RCMP in 1989, I was told that we're traitors. So that's why I'm a passionate for my nation, and there's so much more to talk about. But thank you, Miigwech, all my relations.
Dean, thank you very much. I appreciate the time goes by very quickly, but we'll have lots of time, I think, with questions to get into some more.
Man,
goes
does
fast.
it ever? Yeah, it goes fast, but that's okay. That's okay. Like I said, it's all good.
In my language, we say gillikas, so gillikas. Thank you.
We say top way.
Top way. Fantastic. David, you're up next, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Lawrence. Thank you, Dean, for those words. I'd like to thank the other two candidates as well for being here tonight. I appreciate your words at the beginning, Lawrence. We do this coming from a place of good intent. Those are powerful words, and this is where I come from. I believe, as I mentioned, I've volunteered on the board level in Salmon Arm for close to 8 years. And I've been in the president's position for the last 3 terms. There wasn't a ton of other people that were interested in that position. I let my name stand, and here I am still. I believe one of the most important elements of being in leadership is a healthy succession strategy and plan. So I've been planning this for over a year. I have the support of the board. Our association in Salmon Arm is on solid footing. So I'm happy with that. I consider that an achievement. That is very important. There's so many other associations that have leaders that come and go and are in disarray. So I stand on that record. My platform commitments are based on very simple elements. Number one, community support. This is why I'm running. Last 8 years, I've seen what many of the most important challenges are for volunteer communities, and that's being a volunteer-based community. We need to change that. MNBC has to focus more on the community. The community should be at the center of almost everything that MNBC does. Without a healthy community, what is the point of anything else? So that is why I'm running. And my interpretation, my definition of the role of a regional director is to be in the trenches. I have a shirt on tonight. Usually I wear a t-shirt. I'm out there. I'm out there working in the trenches. Ask around. I stand on my record. So I see that as the main role of a regional director, being in the trenches, being guided by the volunteer leaders. So that's extremely important to me. I have another campaign platform which ties directly to that: director accountability. If elected, and it turns out I'm not doing a good job, or I'm shirking my duties, I would expect there to be more than just one avenue for me to be removed, not just the provincial board level majority vote, which is quite a serious circumstance to be into. I would expect that people that vote me in, my constituents, my future constituents, hopefully, would have an avenue to address that. I'm not saying I have any indication or inclinations to go down that route, but I think it's a very important issue. Director accountability. That's all 11 positions. Economic sustainability, very important. We need to find ways to resource communities, and in my role as a regional director, I will focus on that. Core funding is number one, and there's other avenues to explore. Social enterprise is another possibility. And then the fourth pillar of my campaign is integrity in relationships. We have to work together. Doesn't matter who's elected. Doesn't matter if we don't get along with someone. Doesn't matter. We have to work together, and it doesn't matter who's going to be a regional director. If I'm not regional director, I'm going to keep working together with whoever's there to the best of my ability. These are things that I've come upon as campaign pillars based on volunteering in the community. I've been active at a larger level with MNBC in provincial affairs, like I mentioned in my intro, with committees, the MNJ Governance Committee. I think Métis rights are extremely important. Bringing our kids back home are very important as well. Those are aspirational statements. Let's not just stick with those. Let's figure out what the plan is. I hear those words quite a bit. I'd like to know what the plan is. That's extremely important, and communities should be involved in the plans. As far as Métis right go. We have to be principled in our approach. I may not be elected, so I'll choose to continue doing what I've been doing for the last number of years, and that is to speak truth to power, and potentially exit with voice by saying that I went on the record at a recent RGC and did not support Bill C-53. We have to have principle and believe in what we believe in. So these are simple statements, but they represent who I am. Thank you very much.
David, thank you. Gila Keslow, appreciate those words. Cheryl, are you ready?
You betcha.
Hang on, let me find you here. Let me just find you and put you up top here. Where are you?
I like being on top. It works.
There you are. Let me find you here. Okay, then we're gonna add pin. Okay, so okay, remove pin. I pinned the wrong person. Sorry. All right. Okay, without further ado, Cheryl, the floor is yours, please.
Excellent.
Wendy, I called you Cheryl. Wendy. No, Cheryl.
No, it is Cheryl.
I'm getting turned around. So sorry, Cheryl.
No
Let's
worries.
again. The floor is yours, please.
Okay, my focus of this campaign is on integrity and on being fully open and honest with the communities of Region 3. When you vote for me, you're voting for someone who will do their absolute best as regional director to ensure that we move forward as a nation. I will promote recognition of BC Métis, super important, and their working relationships with and partnerships with First Nations, non-Indigenous folks, and Region 3 all over organizations. First and foremost, we need our children back. With Métis Nation here in BC, with our families, they need to be with their families. I will continue to push for jurisdiction of our children. I will focus on resourcing our families' health and wellness so that they can have their children's with them. They should not be taken away. I do want to focus on communication. I feel that that's something that we really do need to work on. The fact that our citizens phone Métis Nation, leave a message and they never hear back from anyone is just not acceptable. That has to be fixed. With my frontline experience with Métis community at the grassroots level, I'll enhance that communication between the communities and the board of directors. I will take the needs and concerns of all of our communities to the board level and speak to them as a member from the citizen level experience. Been here working the ground as a volunteer for 18 years. I will establish regular communication with the community leaders, and so that I can come back to them to the board with their concerns. I will also focus on elders. They need us so badly to step up for them, youth, and to us LGBTQIA+ community members to ensure that all of their needs are heard and met. I know the urgency of these issues, and I know how to make things work on the ground. I just need to get to the next platform to make those differences happen. I will encourage the enhancement of our language and culture within all of our Region 3 communities. They are working hard already. They need our support with that. Use our resources, help them learn how to spread the awareness of the resources to all the community members. I will ensure that I'm available for phone calls from community members who are looking for resources and that I can help direct them to where they need it. And if all else fails, I'll help them assist them with the website at MNBC. Concerns for environmental. We need to take care of Mother Earth and do everything we can to avoid the depletion of her already fragile resources. We as a nation need to stand up against the destruction of this planet, regardless of the financial benefits that we might get. I'm already involved in a bi-weekly cleanup of a Kelowna Creek with our youth here in Kelowna. I believe initiatives like this can spread throughout our communities and that we, as Métis people, can make a difference in the natural spaces around us. I have so much work that needs to be done and I'm ready to do it. I have been working as an employee of Métis Community Services in Kelowna for the past 8 years. Again, boots on the ground. This time I actually get paid, which is a bonus. But I work with our families and children to help them, like I say, get healthier, support them in finding what they need. Another thing I see we need as Métis Nation is quite simply to support those families that know they're Métis, their heart is there. They just need a little bit of extra help to get that happening. Now, we quite simply need to do that on a nation level at the board of MNBC, and that's one of the things I'd like to work on as well. Super happy to be here. Thank you to all the candidates that are running. I feel blessed to be working alongside you guys to make a difference, no matter who wins. But I do know that if you vote for me, I can make a difference at this stage of the game. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Cheryl. Gila Kessler, really appreciate that. Wendy, you're up next on the queue. So let me just get you pinned, and then whenever looks like you're pinned. So whenever you're ready, the floor is yours.
Marcy, Lawrence, I just would like to start by apologizing, saying, yes, my fellow candidates reminded me that I should gratefully acknowledge that I reside and work in the traditional and unceded territories of the Secwepemc people. And so I just wanted to say that before I start. My commitments are wide and diverse. Number one commitment is to ensure that our charter communities feel supported, to ensure that our charter community leadership has capacity to provide programs and services to the citizens in their respective communities. I feel that it is vital that Métis Nation BC support the communities in terms of building capacity through base core funding. And so I'd like to see that, I'd like to see that happen for our charter communities so that they can raise and build their capacity to support their members and the citizens of Métis Nation BC. The other three areas that I've really focused on in terms of my commitments, the second most important concern or issue for me is Métis child, youth, and family involvement with child welfare. And I have actually been working directly with Métis children, youth, and families through organizations such as Limet Chifo Tupimswap Family and Community Services and Métis Commission for Children and Families of BC. So I'm aware of the needs and the challenges that Métis families involved in the child welfare system experience. And so to me, what makes the most sense is that MNBC partner with the current 5 Métis service providers and the 2 charter communities that are providing support services as well to ensure that we are meeting the families where they are. They're getting access to the resources that they need, and they have access to cultural programming as well. Next is registry. It's a passion of mine. I've been doing Métis genealogy for over 20 years. I had 2 years in the registry department. I want to see the department improve its communication with applicants, and I would like to see improvement in the turnaround times for applications and renewals. And then my next commitment is to support overall access to
cultural programming and services. And because we have a few people that generally tend to connect to community and then are able to access cultural programming, I want to see that broad stream across the nation so that all people have access. And finally, the another concern is the fiscal financial management that's currently taking place. I just would like to see more accountability, more transparency, want to know where our dollars are being spent. And so those are my commitments that I've made personally as a member of Clara Morandel Call's team. We have 28 commitments that we've put together, and there will be a mail out brochure that's coming that identifies some more of our commitments. Clara Moran has posted the commitments on her webpage as well. And the ones that I've talked about are also included in our 28 commitments that we've identified. And so reviewing governance is another one that we really want to stress, that we're ensuring good governance is occurring. And so with that, I will say, Marcy, thank you.
Appreciate the excellent timing, Wendy. Gillick, thank you. I now invite all the candidates to unmute themselves. Yeah, so I'm gonna just make sure you can unmute yourselves there. So I'll make sure that's all good. Okay.
Just
and
to
I'm
know,
also-
I may have to unmute myself because I too have my dog sitting
Oh,
beside
no
me.
problem.
And she likes to bark at other dogs coming by the house.
You betcha. So I'm gonna just see if I can multi-pin here. I don't think it's gonna let me. Oh yeah, there we go. Perfect.
I need to note that I do have a beating circle happening here in Kelowna. So if there's some noise in the background, I will mute myself.
Sure, understood. I lost Wendy. Where did There's Wendy, there's Cheryl, and Dean. There we go. Okay, great. Okay, great. So I should have you all pinned to the screen for everyone to see now. And so we're going to move into the questions from members. We've had some questions provided to us, and we've had some questions in the chat. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start to go through the questions, and I'm going to allow you folks to kind of self-moderate in terms of taking time to answer the questions. So I'm not necessarily going to time limit your response. I'm going to leave it open. So do be concise and direct in your answers. And I'll just leave the floor open for everyone to respond to. Do take a moment though, just to make sure that your fellow candidate has answered the question before you begin. If it gets unwieldy, I will change the forum, okay, just so we can kind of manage that a little bit better. But I have no doubt that you fine folks can tackle this part quite well. So here's the first question that I'd like to ask you and submitted from a member. What have you learned from past experiences, whether in public office or other roles, that will guide your actions if elected? So Cheryl, I'm going to ask you to go first, and then I would ask others to follow in behind as she finishes. Go ahead, Cheryl.
Sorry, what was the question again? I was reading the chat. I got
Oh, no problem. What have you learned from past experiences, whether in public office or other roles, that will guide your actions if elected?
So I think bottom line is being a part of provincial and national events. I have learned basically the protocols, and we've had some governance training as a member of the Métis Women of BC and the Region 3 Women's Rep for the past 6 years. Governance training has been put in place. I have also been involved in the Electoral Act Committee, which has been an interesting process as well. So all of those things I feel have given me lots of equipment to work on to move forward. No, you're on mute.
Sorry, I will go next.
Perfect.
I
Thank
think
you.
everybody was like waiting for the next person, and I'm like, oh, there's nobody speaking.
Go ahead.
So can you repeat that question, please? Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, you're on mute, Lawrence.
Get them back. Okay, yes, thank you. Sorry, I did put it in the chat just for folks to reference. So what have you learned from past experiences, whether in public office or other roles, that will guide your actions if elected?
Great question. So I think that first off, I want to start with the foundation that I received in family was, I think a great starting point in terms of, ensuring everyone's needs are being met and we're all pursuing the same goal. And then I can move that into my role as president and vice president for Two Rivers Métis Society. I was blessed to have an opportunity to engage in many public speaking forums, and so that allowed me to really develop that skill for public speaking. And then if I move to the other side of it, the part about Two Rivers Métis Society is that you're in community, and so you are embracing the cultural and traditional values and belief systems of the Métis people. And I think that that's an important starting point, foundation to build upon in any negotiation when you're, when you are going to speak with a provincial or federal government. And I think that, I think I'll leave that there. Thank you.
Excellent. So David or Dean, I'd invite you to go next.
Yeah, I'll go ahead here. I'll respond in a general matter. Some of my experience over the course of my life, and more specifically my professional life, will guide me in this future role. And some of those experiences revolve around the fact that very rarely in life do we have to make instant decisions. It does happen occasionally, and in my life as a forestry contractor with up to 50 plus employees working for me, there has been on occasion times when I had to make life and death decisions based on accidents in the workplace. Falling on the coast or in minus 40 in the winter is one of the most hazardous occupations out there. So I have dealt with those type of situations, but they happen very rarely. I feel confident in my capacity to make decisions in a very serious situations, but I do recognize that they don't happen often. I think what is more important is to recognize that we can't take things personally, especially when it comes to other people and what they think of us and what their opinions are and where they come from. We have to be in a position to recognize that that everyone comes from a different place, and then any decisions we make based on those influences has to be reasoned. So I think I developed those skills over the years to not get caught up personally in most things, especially in decision-making processes which involve large groups of people. I think we always need to keep an eye on the bigger picture. So I think those skills come naturally to me at this point, and I think it'll be a good fit with the position I'm running for. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dean, let me restate the question for you. What have you learned from past experiences, whether in public office or other roles, that will guide your actions if elected?
Well, first of all, I come from the trenches. Neona instotin, moniokio neona, moniokio neona instotin upsis. I just said, I think of all the people here, I'm the only one that speaks the language. We need more people in power that can understand and speak the language, because I come from the trenches. I was raised in it. I was within 3 minutes of being a 60 scoop baby. My family took me out of the hospital at that time in 1966. We literally went into the bush and hid. Our family, my parents' language is Michif, first language, and Cree. My parents both speak fluent Cree to this day. So does most of my family. What we need are people that come from the scars, from the wounds, from the battle wounds of 1982, for example, when we first got into the Constitution. My family was a part of that. 1996, when we became a nation, MNBC, I was a part of that, bringing it in. So I've always been involved right at the beginning in the depths of it. It's easy to say we're going to help charter communities, which is very important, trust me. But if we do not have IGB status, we don't have Métis status in this province, this is all for none. That is my commitment. Of course, communities have to flourish, but communities are based on the strength of each president. I've seen amazing presidents. I think Dave's doing a good job in his community, and so is Cheryl in their community. I've seen other people who become presidents who've done nothing. And that's the thing. And so when people start pointing fingers, they've got to understand there's a bigger role in play. And I also have a very strong connection to the federal level with the federal government and the provincial level. If I get in, I'm going to ask that I be on the rights committee this time, which I was not last time, because I committed to a lot of other things, such as sports and as well as injustice was my biggest commitment. But to help communities flourish, we have to get those IGB status. We can concentrate everything except that. We're going nowhere. I might as well go home, go get my other job that I've been offered, which I said no. And I love this because this is my passion. I've seen my cookum being racially discriminated, my family being racially discriminated, and to this day, we still are. And we have a lot of differences. I see a great question on the answering about First Nations, and I can't wait to answer that. So my background is understanding that, and also coming from, I spent a lot of years in the RCMP, also national recruiting process of Indigenous peoples. So these are things that I bring to the table. You can also Google my name, Dean Gladue, Métis, and there's an extensive information on there as well. And I support Bill C-53 because it's important that we have unity in this province and in this country and not have separation. So those are the things that people have to watch. Do the people running know the really depths of political history and the blood that was shed in our country? 1885, our family, we all know what that is. And in 1816, my fifth great grandfather, Cuthbert Grant, flew that flag. And I'm very proud of that. And then, as we said, Cheryl and I are cousins. We're related through that line. We're a very deep connection. Pixie Wells is my relative. I have many relatives are on here. We're all interconnected. McKay, Patrick. So what I do is I have that, but I also have the knowledge of all my mushrooms and cookums telling me, in ceremony especially, what is to come. I still practice ceremony, and through ceremony, I get my answers, and I believe in that. There are people that will deny our Indianness, and they have the Monya colonialism, instotin now no mote. That's their only way of life. They don't know anything different. And that's what I said in my opening statement. I'll close with this, that there are people running that have no knowledge of our history. They have a colonial mind, but they've got Indian blood. They got Indigenous blood, yes, but a Monya with the colonial mind. Thank you. Re-elect me.
You're muted, Lords.
I have to remember what I'm doing over here, chatting without unclicking that. Just if folks take more than 3 minutes, I will put the 1 minute timer on just to contain, just as a courtesy, I think, to everyone. So I'm just monitoring that behind the screen. So that's why I did that. So next question, and I'm just going to put that in the chat right now. And David, I'm going to ask you to lead because the question was directed at you in the chat mark. So I'll have you go first. So the question is, David, you can go first. What issues do you see currently in Region 3 that need to be changed, and how will you address them on the MNBC board?
Thank you, Lawrence. Yeah, I may just take 3 minutes plus that extra minute, 4 minutes. Why not? If we're here to promote ourselves, I may just do that. For me, the answer is pretty simple, and it's just reiterating what I've been saying for a number of years here. Community first. The main issue I see with Region 3, and then this is just it's just my perception of it, is how the role of regional director doesn't align with what I believe it to be. again, this is a personal view on this. I see that role as being the representative of the region, of those that vote in the director, and that's how I plan on addressing that issue. To have a political voice at the provincial board is extremely important. How else can a region and individual citizens expect to affect change if they don't have that added layer of voice? Granted, the position may have changed over the course of the last few years or election cycles. Previously, it was when the previous director was elected, was in power, Mr. Pittman. The salary was a third or even less than what it was now. So there was less work expected of a director at that time. But nonetheless, the focus seemed to have been being a voice for the community. Now the regional director, in my opinion, seems to have changed, and not for any negative reasons. I think it's just a reality of where MNBC is now, with all the additional funding that's been happening over the last number of years. And that funding translates into a higher demand of the regional directors. There's some regional directors that have multiple portfolios, and they seem to be working 60 plus hours a week. I think that's great, but I think that demand put on them by MNBC should be tempered with some time given to the communities, and that's my opinion. That's why I intend to run. We have to be able to follow through with what we believe in, and I think the community needs a strong political voice at the provincial board level. And my voice is just one voice, but my first language is French. I may be the only candidate here that speaks that Métis language, and I'm proud of it. French has been part of Métis since the beginning. Very proud of that. My ancestors have been part Métis political activism since the beginning. Very proud of that. So that'll end my answer right there. I'm doing it for what I believe to be true, and it's my personal opinion and observation on these things. Nothing more, nothing less. Thank you.
Thank you, David. I will invite any of the other candidates to comment.
I'll speak.
Thank you, Wendy.
What do I see as the issues in Region 3? I think that one of the things that I see that is most concerning is that people, the citizens and the applicants applying for citizenship do not have access to someone to speak with. So lack of communication is really high on my list in terms of what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing from the electors when I'm making my phone calls. That's the number one thing that I'm hearing. They are asking me questions about the status of MNBC as it stands and what's happening on programs and services when I'm phoning on behalf of running for Region 3 director. And so I see that as a concern. Another concern I see is the inability for our people to connect with anybody through the registry department to find out what's happening with their application and their renewal. I had one person come to me recently and said that that it's been a very difficult circumstance that she's experienced with engaging with Métis Nation BC. So I would really like to see that improvements in that area. I would also like to see improvements in communication. And now I have to say that Métis Nation BC does provide, the weekly or monthly updates through the newsletter. And I so appreciate that. but there's many more people that don't have access to, you know, to the web, to email and those kinds of things. And so it's, how do those people know what's happening through MNBC? How do they find out about current programs and services that they're eligible for? And that leads me into the next, I guess, concern, is that I don't see a lot of people being able to easily access the provincial programs that MNBC offers. And so what I'll end with is that I'd like to see, you know, just greater connection between communities, community leaders, and Region 3 director, and where they're able to transmit that information so that it can come from the Region 3 director, from MNBC to Region 3 director, filtered through to leaders, and then to the community. So we all have an awareness of what's happening in our communities. Merci.
Excellent. Thanks, Wendy. I would invite Cheryl. Looks like you're ready to go.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, please go, please.
First thing that came to mind for me is we have 5 Métis service agencies in our region, or in our province. 2 of those 5 service agencies belong in Region 3, which is pretty cool. We have LMO in Kamloops, and we have Métis Community Services in Kelowna, where, as I said, I do work. I see a huge struggle at the service agency level for funding, and they basically need to get their own funding to do the work that they do. They do get quite a bit of support from Métis Nation BC, but I still feel that we could do, as a nation, a better job of supporting our service agencies. So that being one of the concerns that I see that needs to change. And that would be a focus for me moving forward, to see us as a nation work better, closer, and more on the same page as our service agencies. And that being said, there's 2 in the province. We have 8 community, or 2 in our region. We have 8 communities in Region 3. I could see the need for a service agency in each of our communities, because we need to get our children back, and we have to stop allowing the province to take care of them. A little bit passionate about that, so bear with me. That's really my focus. There's so much more to work on, and I can guarantee you I'm going to do that work once I'm elected. Thanks.
Thank you, Cheryl. Dean, do you have any commentary on that question?
Absolutely. Just want to say this: you got to remember, when we first got elected, especially this board, we came in and cleaned house from the last, as I call it, the regime, which was led by a former president, is no longer there, in 2020, and we were hit by COVID for 2 years, and it made it very difficult to get the work done. Once the doors opened, this board worked diligently and very hard. We now have an immense growth. I'll admit that we've grown so fast. I even said, we got to slow things down inside. We need to slow our process down, our role. We cannot continue growing to it and just continue to being an oversized, glorified service provider. And I've said that in many board meetings. What I want to see us is, we need to get our IGB status. That's what I see has to come in Region 3. If these communities want to flourish, which is great, but some presidents in each community is different. Some communities have different access. Some presidents are different. And I'll say it, there are some presidents that have the dictator mentality. I'm the one voice, nobody else. To me, if they've got a problem, they've got to come to us. We don't know what they're doing. And we should not, as MNBC, overstep our powers in telling communities how to run. Just like our traditional Métis communities out in this country, like L'Orange or my community of Kelly Lake, which we're fighting for a modern day treaty as well, or a Métis treaty, that is. And these are things that we are involved with, my family, at a very large scale. What I want to see is myself getting more involved in the rights, but as well really coming to the communities and listening to our elders and our old people. one thing that I struggle with in this province is compared to when I go to Alberta, is I see a lot of traditional old speaking Métis men that come from, and women like my mother, who come from those trenches. Here we have a collection of people that are just starting to understand their Métis-ness and they don't really fully gravitate what's going. So I think we really need to be more forthright, and as well as working with communities that are striving to help better educate their communities in rights. And like Wendy said as well, in regards to citizenship, we've seen tremendous growth. We've gone up close to 26,000 Métis citizens. And this citizenship has gone through a massive restructuring. Right from the back in the day, it was just paperwork. And there was power in a certain people that had just to say, no, we're taking your citizenship away. You can't do that. You can't take Métis citizenship. It's in our bloodline. So we're restructuring to a modern day type of, and I'm hoping that they really flow it, because I get frustrated too. I take a lot of calls helping citizens, trying to get their citizenship. I too am in that line. Guys, we got to fix this. We got to move forward. So long live the Métis people, and long live our heritage, and let's continue working together. So proud to be Métis. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. So I'm going to post the next question in the chat column. And I will invite Cheryl. I'm going to invite you to tackle this one to get us started. So let me just post it. How can you, as Regional Director of Region 3, be supportive of all chartered communities in the region?
Well, I have to say that as the regional women's rep for the past 4 years, I have been more in contact with each of our communities when they've been available. That being said, that's really what we have to focus on, is doing it at the community's timing, because our community leaders are working hard and very strong in what they're doing for their people, and they know what their people need. So my focus would be to just connect one-on-one, person to person, when their time is right. The amazing thing about that is, as regional director, I would be able to do that. Now, as a regional women's rep, I still needed to work my full-time job, and I had to do it in the evenings and on the weekends, which didn't always work with our community members and our leaders. So I don't want to just get to know the leaders. I want to get to know the people out there and the community. And I've been excited to be able to speak with so many of the people on our Region 3 list, to the point where last week I took the week off so I could call people. And I have to admit, my throat's a little sore from all the talking I've been doing. So that being said, I love talking to our people, and I would keep doing that. And that's what's going to grow us and bring us together, I think. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Cheryl. Who would like to tackle that next? Once, twice. Dean, I'm going to ask you to go next.
Yeah, I had my hand up. Yeah, I just want to, when I say a dictator leadership, prior to the current leadership, we had dictators in place for some of these presidents. And now we've come to a place where we've got great presidents in our communities. So that's what I was referring to about the old regime. And since 2020, we've made a huge change in our style of leadership. So hats off to all the great presidents in Region 3. But what I want to say is the fact that we, can you just rethrow that question again there before I answer it?
Yeah, absolutely. How can you, as a regional director of Region 3, be supportive of all chartered communities in the region?
Oh, exactly. Each leadership has his or her own strengths and skills. Some of them need to be really guided. I have a few communities where I work with diligently. Other communities, again, we do not walk in there. So it's letting them know that we're available. They can call us and they can talk to us. And that's what's important. So, and also furthering that, if we want to move forward as a community and chartered communities, each community must take its own responsibility to grow. And that's what I'm seeing. Finally, I'm seeing that. There was a time when when communities would be relying on MNBC just to help them do everything. And that's, if we do that, we're only going to fail. We become not a dictatorship, but we become like a community that is saying, here, you got to be hand-fed. This is what you're doing. By allowing our communities to be independent and growing, that's how you can have economic growth and development. And once again, IGB status is so important, because I would love to see a time where we can start seeing paid positions, these leaders coming into the communities, because you know what? One person cannot do all the work. It's got to be many hands, but having somebody do it is important, such as they're doing. When I look at South Okanagan Métis Association, president there, she's doing an amazing job. And then her job is what she's doing there with her executive director, working diligently. That's a good example of community growth. And that's what we need to do. So there's always good examples out there. We take best practices and we work with it. And there again, each community has their own independent personality. So thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks, Dean. David or Wendy? Remember, I see unmute first. Go ahead, Wendy.
Thank you. Great question. I think my number one priority would be to be available for the charter community leadership. And that can be by phone, by text, by email. And to follow up with that, I'm committed to coming and joining different events at the charter community level in Region 3. And so absolutely would commit to a minimum of twice a year to attend different events, AGMs and other gatherings. Sorry, my dog is shifting in his bed. My apologies. And he's 100 pounds, so he's gonna make noise. And so to get back on track, you know, just commit to coming out to the charter communities to join them at their events, and then, you know, facilitate monthly or bi-monthly meetings for the charter community leadership, depending on what the need is, to assess that need with the community presidents, and then, you know, meet that need. And then I think what I'd really like to see is have some of the different ministries and the directors for those ministries, you know, again, as needed, come and join different regional governance meetings to let the leadership know what's happening in their communities. I think that's where I'd like to start. And then, of course, you know, if you know, in moving forward, if a financial review is completed, see, you know, what MNBC finances are, and then see if we can facilitate that core base funding, because as a former president and vice president, I was in the trenches with the community, just trying to build it and maintain, you know, whether it's office space or, you know, support for membership, and often that was done, you know, at a Bannock Day, on Canada Day, or Indigenous Day. And so I'd really like to see that MNBC support our charter communities to build their capacity. Marcy. You're on mute.
Oh, I know. Excellent. Thank you. It took me a minute to hand-eye coordination. I don't play enough video games anymore for me to do that. David, I'll let you wrap this question.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, this just lines up with a lot of what I've been saying here, community first, and to offer concrete potential solutions. I think we have to focus on the fact that most of the challenges are based on the fact that communities are volunteer led and driven. So that's where a lot of these issues come about. It's not exclusively based on lack of funding, but it's just the human capital, the human resources stretched thin, and all the volunteer leaders on here tonight know exactly what I'm talking about there. Sure, there are some examples out there of communities that are doing or striving or excelling, such as the one in based out of Penticton there, but these are rare occurrences when communities happen to have the honor of having volunteer leaders such as Leader Keith or other ones throughout the province. That you can't design that. It's just to large part happenstance. And these communities, they generally they thrive and excel. But that's not a plan. That's not a strategy. We can't base building a nation on anything based on those premises of hoping for the right volunteer to show up at the right time, and that creates burnout. Creates a churn with the volunteers and leadership. Some of the solutions I propose is to be in community, to be there, to receive guidance from community as to what they want, to bring communities together, the charter communities via RGCs, to listen to their concerns, to bring those concerns to the MNBC board, but to go beyond that, to look for ways to minimize the dependency on volunteers. And that can be through different avenues. It could even be as far as bringing all lake communities together and creating a new nonprofit society. A social enterprise can come out of that. We can generate our own funds. I was told by a director from MNBC when they came to visit us, that was a clear possibility for us, and so that was very exciting to hear. That was a meet and greet from one of the departments at MNBC. So these are things that we can build on, and I propose to be there to help facilitate some of this. And then also the messaging from MNBC, I think, could be better as far as sharing the overall goals of MNBC with the citizens. Sometimes we have difficulty knowing what's going on, what the end goal is, reading between the lines. So a regional director can assist with that. So I think that's another key element there, to be a go-between. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So we're gonna do the last question, and I am gonna set timer for this last question for 2 minutes, just so we can get through it. So last question coming up as we get into this. So just a recap, we'll do this last question. I'll post that in the chat, and then we'll allow each of the candidates to make closing remarks. And we'll allow 3 minutes for closing remarks from each candidate. And then at the end, I'll make some closing remarks as well, and just remind folks how to access the content here, and the messages conveyed by you, the candidates. I just want to say at this point in the evening, really appreciate all the words that I'm hearing, and each of you for being so keen and doing all this in a very good way. So I just want to say hands up and thank you for that. It made my job really easy tonight. So. Thank you, Gila Kesla. Okay, so with that, here is the last question, and let me figure out how to do that again. Here we go. And this question was posed, I think, initially to Dean. So, Dean, I'm going to let you lead on it. First Nations people, I think that should say. So let me read out the question in its entirety. Why do you think that the First Nations people are so important to the identity and sustenance of the Métis people in BC? Do you see that, sir? Are you good, Dean?
I'm just looking for it right now.
It's in the chat.
Yeah, Shirley Goulet. Is that the one who put it up there?
No, I put
Shirley.
it up there. No.
Oh, okay. Is it in the chat? Oh, there it is. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Why do you think that First Nations people are so important to the identity and sustenance of Métis people? Oh my God, that's a very good question. You know what? First of all, Métis First Nations are our brothers and sisters. If you look at Saskatchewan right now, President Glenn McCollum, he's made it a massive effort to work in partnership with First Nations. By him doing that, it's helped their treaty, their Métis treaty in Saskatchewan to become a lot smoother. In BC, we have different challenges. Some First Nations are out there stating outright, and I will say this, and I think people need to hear this, that there's a letter outright demanding some First Nations, demanding that the federal and provincial government cease all negotiations with Métis people in BC immediately. That's not right. We're Section 35 holders. So what we need to do is we need to educate our brothers and sisters, explain to them who we are, what we are, who are the Métis, because I even get that from chiefs. Who are you, Métis? I never heard, the Métis are mixed blood. No, we're not. We're distinct people with a culture and a language. We come from, and we're children of the fur trade. I've had First Nations leaders tell me Métis is Haida or German. No, it isn't. We know who we are. Everybody around this table is very proud of their heritage. By educating, but we do not. But on the other hand, we negotiate with government. First Nations have their negotiation. And we have a place in British Columbia. And we cannot go anywhere. We're here. We've been here all our lives. And so that's what it's about. It's about working in partnerships and developing strong ties with our brothers and sisters. I have many family tied in with First Nations. I have nephews that are married into the First Nations communities. I have nieces and nephews that are First Nations. So, you know, we're interact. And especially when I go back home, there's just no difference. And in fact, when I became a Métis leader, people would say to me, I didn't know what a Métis leader was until you came up. Why didn't you ever speak on that? I says, well, I've always practiced my Métis culture. I don't go walk around saying I'm Métis. I walk around just practicing my culture and language. That's who I am. So that's the key there, is understanding where we're going in our future with them. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Dean. So David, you asked for the question to be clarified. I hope the way I've restated it is helpful. If so, maybe I'll ask you to go next.
Okay, yeah, I just saw that. Thank you very much. Yeah, reason I said I didn't support Bill C-53 was because I believed in the statements of the chiefs of Ontario. And I'm hearing about pushback in BC here from BC First Nations. They don't want our rights to be recognized, or they don't want the federal government to negotiate with us. How did we get to that point? Like, that's what I'm wondering. And if we can find a way to not aggravate this situation. Like, there's serious issues with Métis and purported Métis in Ontario, and we don't want to be in a situation like that. So how can we avoid this? I think it starts in our daily conduct and how we deal with our neighbors. I've reached out with the local in Nisconlet and Little Adams Lake bands here, and I have some ties with some First Nation individuals here, and we've done events together. And you know, everything's fine at that small local community level. At a larger level, I can see politics being involved in a lot of this, and confrontation can be derived for different reasons. Some of it can be influenced by the colonial courts. IGB status relates to a federal act for children in care. That's what it relates to. And to attain it, my understanding is we need to go to court to create IGB status via Kelly Lake site-specific rights. I just hope none of that is gonna come back and bite us. That's where we need more community involvement and awareness with all these larger decisions that impact us directly. So all I can say is we can only keep trying doing our best. And I think, once again, it starts at the community level, and let's not get overly influenced by the colonial structures out there. Thank you very much.
Impressive timing as well, David. Well done. Thank you for your answer. Cheryl or Wendy, whoever unmutes first can go. Cheryl, that will be you.
Absolutely. So in this sense, I truly feel that we need to build relationships with our First Nations people, and the fact that that partnership collaboration really needs to come across with the fact that they need to understand exactly who we are and where we come from. We have a strong, huge, well, as all you know, long history in this country. And we have been here for a long time, and we've been in BC for a long time. They need to be simply educated, in my opinion. And we're not, in my opinion, any better than them, but we're also not any worse than them. Like Dean said, we are Section 35 holders, and they need to accept us as that. And if we don't start working together with these folks, it's not going to make it any easier for us. We need to strengthen these relationships and truly grow as a nation. And that's just my take on it. If we don't build those relationships, we really are up for a fight, and we don't need to fight them. They're our cousins, for crying out loud. They're our relatives, right? This is really something we have to focus on. And I do take point to David's comments about the issues with Ontario. That has to be settled. That has to be figured out. Honestly, the fact that there is so many people claiming to be Métis and that Ontario has accepted them is just not acceptable. We have to quite simply be strong and firm in who we are and make sure that our people are able to come home, make it easier for them to come home, but also make it so that we educate First Nations to accept us as their people as well. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Cheryl. Wendy.
Thank you. I think, given our history that we are a blend of First Nation and European ancestry, it's an important point to remember when we're talking about, the First Nation people in BC. I don't know that they have a deep or profound understanding of who the Métis people are. And so, like Cheryl before me and the other candidates, I think it's about rebuilding relationships with the First Nations in our communities and at a nation level, so that we can have those discussions about sharing about who we are as a people, and what our goals are as a nation are. And I think that's the first step in terms of being able to, move beyond what the letter that was stated that the BC Assembly of First Nation Chiefs do not want the provincial government consulting with us or supporting us. And so I think it's about going back going back and starting over to rebuild those connections with our First Nation cousins, and let them know who we are and what our goals are in terms of nationhood, and see how we can come together and move away from this and them. And so that's my hope in terms of if elected, that I would want myself and the other board of directors to have that as a commitment moving forward. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Wendy. So we are at the point in our agenda now where we're going to invite candidates to provide some closing comments. I want to take a moment to thank all those folks who submitted questions. And I think we got through all of them, with the exception of maybe one. But what I am going to do is forward that question to candidates so that you're aware of it, and that you can respond to it within your own media or other channels if you wish. So you'll see that in a separate email from me later on this evening or tomorrow. So just watch for that in your email box. Or you can, no, let's go with that. I think that's the easiest way to do it. So reminder to all of our folks who are listening in tonight, our guests, that reminder that vote day is September 7th. Electronic voting opens August 24th. You're able to vote in this election by electronically, by digital ballot, or by mail-in ballot. And those mail-in ballots should hit the postal highway here any day now. And again, to check with the MNBC website for all the latest information on notices and information with regard to the election, and also at onefeather.ca. If you voted electronically with One Feather in the previous elections, you'll be notified automatically that this voting event has happened, and you'll be directed very quickly to get to your ballot. If you are new to One Feather, we do invite you to go to onefeather.ca and create your profile. So if you do wish to vote electronically, get all those steps out of the way before electronic voting opens on the 24th. So, and again, if you have any questions or you need any support, do reach out to our support department. Some really good people there have dedicated lines to help you in that regard and to make sure that you're able to get your ballot cast. So on to the last part of our evening. And again, just a big thank you to our candidates tonight, who I think have conducted themselves very graciously and very thoroughly, and have given very great, direct and wonderful answers to the questions, and have very powerful and conveyed their platforms, I think, with sincerity and with passion. So we're going to go back to our list, our sequence. And so I'm going to call on Dean to go first to provide closing commentary or closing statements. Sir, you will have 3 minutes, and you are good to go.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you, Lawrence and One Feather, for doing this. You're a very trusted voting election Indigenous. We're very proud of the work you do. You're a trusted organization. So first of all, thank you. Thank you to all the candidates that participated in it. One thing I like about this election, the people in BC are seeing a democracy in play. That's how nations are built, when democracy could be in played, and that's what you're doing. There's a lot of people now getting leverage in this community who are the Métis just through our election. No matter who wins, no matter what we do, at the end of the day, every one of us will still be Métis. We move on. I will still no matter, and I wish to be reelected because we got a lot of work to do still. And what took us 2 years after COVID is not enough time. We need another 4 years, and I really believe we're going to be a lot further. We have an amazing team that I'm supporting. We look at President Minault. He's an amazing leader that will help us move forward, as well as Vice President who's running for Vice President, Louis DeJager. So when we see where we're going and where we've been, this board needs another 4 years to really build. Let's not get caught up in saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, because we've got a big organization and it takes a lot of work. Things don't happen overnight. We've grown tremendously, and I'm so proud of that. I'm so proud of the last 4 years to stand behind it, what we've done. One thing I'm really proud of is our sports and active living ministry portfolio that I had, and how we built it up to a tremendous organization and to a bigger place to get notoriety, as well as our natural resources, which I'm the minister, and justice as well. I wish to be reelected so that I can become the Minister of Rights, and because I believe we need a strong voice. And I now know in somebody who can go to the language and speak Michif. And when in my picks, we are fluent in Cree. So we need to work together to build a stronger nation, yes. And there are some, watch those that are trying to destroy our nation, because they are running as well. So it's important that you take a conformed, and this is no easy task to do. Don't take it lightly. There's no kumbaya here. We're fighting for our rights. We're fighting for who we are. And I believe in Dean Gladue is your best person in Region 3. Thank you.
Yeah, Kasa, thank you, Dean. Much appreciated. David, you're up next, sir.
Thank you. Let's see if I can make it shorter than Dean. He still had 37 seconds to go there. Good job. I'm thankful for being here with all of you. I'd like to congratulate Director Harriet on being acclaimed for Region 1. I see his name on the screen. I'm presuming that's him. There's a few others on the screen that are running for other MNBC positions. I wish you success. Thank you for guests and One Feather staff for being here and for great questions. Basically, I think that if you think I'm the person that's going to go out in the trenches and be there for community and roll my sleeves up, even though I usually just wear a t-shirt there, I'm the person. You got to follow your gut as to what direction you want to go, but as well you have to be informed. It's a combination of both, and I wholeheartedly agree with Dean. Much good work has been done in the last 2 years. I'd even say during COVID. I mean, that was a challenging time, and quite a bit got done there as well. So I wholeheartedly agree with his statements, especially considering the tremendous growth that happened at MNBC, and that may potentially change. The funding channels may dry up or not be as much, and that's not necessarily the end all be all of anything. It's just a reality to be aware of. One thing I'd like to lean into, though, is I truly believe change is good, and it sounds like there's many incumbents there that are running as a group, and that's fine. They work together. They've had 4 years of going through the ropes and learning the portfolios, and that's great. We don't want to lose most of that, but I think change is good. I can see change being really good. I think some new faces, some new ideas, some new blood at the board level, I think is required. I think it's just an indication of a healthy governance structure, as opposed to a continuation of most of all the same people. And I'm on the MNGA governance committee with Director Harriet, and we discuss these things quite a bit. And what will happen, but I believe change is necessary to bring in fresh ideas and fresh people to the mix. So I'm running on change, and I'm running on my track record as a volunteer for 8 years. And I thank you, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. Really appreciate that. Good words. Who do I have next? Cheryl, you are up next.
Thank you. First off, I have really tried to figure out why I'm doing this. I've focused in my to take, and I'm like, shit, I'm not the kind of person that likes to do stuff in front of a bunch of people, but I truly feel that I have been led to this particular job for the past 4 years, if not longer. It's not me that's going to do this job, and I truly feel that it's Creator that's going to lead me to do the job that needs to get done for our region. I'm so proud of all the people that are running. David, Wendy, Dean, thank you so much for this this competition. It's fabulous, and I really am quite excited with the fact that whoever does win this is going to be someone that we all can work together with, because we need to work together as a nation, as a region, to make the work that we do means everything for our people. And I am ready to do that work. I've been ready for at least 4 years now, because I did try and get this job 4 years ago. Didn't quite work, but I'm feeling even so much more prepared, and I see why I didn't get it last time. But I'm totally ready now, and I appreciate anyone that would vote for me, because I'm ready for you, and it's going to make a difference. I'm going to make some changes, and I agree with David. Change is good. Fresh eyes, fresh focus, and Dean, the work you and your board has done has been incredible. I'm not one to complain, because you guys have done a lot of work and you've taken us a long ways forward. There's lots more work to be done, and I'm again ready to do that. So if I could ask quite simply that you put your trust in me, I will make it happen. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Cheryl. Really appreciate that. And thank you for being here this evening. Wendy, you have the enviable position, I think, of going last tonight. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Lawrence. I would like to thank Lawrence and One Feather for hosting this town hall. I think it's a wonderful opportunity to engage in discussion about, the political change that we hope that I hope can take place, and I would just like to see the charter communities feeling supported by their nation and by their regional director. And that's my number one commitment. I want to ensure that the citizens have an awareness and an understanding and a connection to their nation. And I'm so passionate about that. As my entire adult life, I have lived, breathed my heart and soul for my Métis community, Two Rivers Métis Society, my nation, and for the Métis children, youth, and families that I've worked on behalf of since 2011. And I just really hope that we can come together as a nation and really support our citizens to achieve their goals and their dreams. And I want Métis Nation BC to be a part of that. And I just want to say thank you to my fellow candidates. It's been a great discussion, and I hope that we have a wonderful turnout for election on September 7th, either online or by mail-in ballot. And we'll see what the next couple of weeks brings for everybody. So thank you very much for taking the time this evening. And thank you, Lawrence.
Excellent. Thank you, Wendy. Really appreciate that. Gila Kessler. Well, folks, candidates and electors, members alike from MNBC, we are officially done for the evening. Just a reminder that this session has been recorded and it will be available online at the MNBC YouTube page. Once that is uploaded, we'll wait for, so the way it works is that the computer has to be processed, it's downloaded to my system, and then uploaded to a shared drive with MNBC, and then that is then uploaded to YouTube at their end. So do allow up to at least a day, maybe day and a half for that to happen, but that should happen tomorrow. And do encourage you to find that link and share it with others. I want to say thank you again. I think I've said it a couple times now, but really a pleasure to be here this evening. You made my job super easy. And it's always a wonderful experience to hear from folks who are running for office and who are prepared to make that commitment in that time. It's a special breed of person that does that. And so hands up to all of you. And good luck to each of you. And I do wish you all the very best, regardless of the outcome. And like I said earlier, in my language, we say Gila Keslas. So again, thank you everyone and have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Take care.
Merci beaucoup tout le monde. Merci beaucoup. Au revoir.
Merci.
Merci, everybody.
Thank you all.